The Branded Woman, a tale of justice, healing, and homecoming. The Arizona sun wasn't just hot, it was vengeful. Like God himself had decided this particular stretch of desert needed extra punishment. Jacob Hayes was riding fence line when he found her at first. He thought it was a dead coyote slumped against his property marker. But coyotes didn't wear torn dresses, didn't have long black hair matted with blood and dust. A woman, native Navajo, from the silverwork still tangled in her hair, big-framed, broad-shouldered, the kind of build that spoke of strength and hard work. But right now, she was crumpled like discarded laundry. One leg twisted at a bad angle, her clothing soaked dark with old blood. Jacob was 61 years old. He'd survived 2 wars, buried a wife and infant son, and spent the last 15 years learning one hard truth. Mind your business, and you might live to see tomorrow. He should ride on. Pretend he saw nothing. But then she moved just a finger, scratching weakly at the dirt like she was trying to dig her own grave. Damn, Jacob muttered, dismounting. He knelt beside her, checked for a pulse. Still there, barely. Her eyes flickered, open black, fever bright, full of something that looked like rage mixed with resignation. Don't, she whispered, voice like sandpaper. Don't touch me. I'm cursed. Everyone who helps me dies. Well, Jacob said, sliding his arms under her. I'm already half dead anyway. What's the worst that could happen? She was heavy solid muscle and bone, not the frail damsel from storybooks. Jacob grunted as he lifted her onto his horse, his back screaming in protest as he rode toward his cabin. The woman drifted in and out of consciousness, mumbling in Navajo and English. Most of it was incoherent. But one phrase kept repeating. He said, I deserved it. Said it was my fault. Jacob's jaw tightened. He'd heard that excuse before. Seen what men did when they decided their wives deserved it. His brother-in-law had used those exact words. Right before Jacob's sister died of mysterious injuries, the doctor couldn't explain and the law wouldn't investigate. Jacob had stayed silent then. Told himself it wasn't his business. Told himself he couldn't prove anything. 3 months later, his sister was dead and the brother-in-law had remarried. Jacob had carried that silence like a stone in his chest for 20 years. He looked down at the unconscious woman, draped across his saddle, bleeding onto his horse. Not this time, he said quietly. This time, I don't stay silent. The woman woke screaming. Jacob was ready for it. He'd moved all potential weapons out of reach and positioned himself across the room, hands visible and empty. You're safe, he said, not moving. Name's Jacob Hayes. This is my ranch. That door's unlocked. You want to leave, you can leave. She looked around wildly at the cabin, at him, at the bandages wrapped around her ribs and thigh. Her hand went to her side, felt the clean cloth, the absence of fresh pain. You undressed me. Not accusatory. Just wary, only enough to treat the wounds. And I kept my eyes where they belonged. Jacob gestured to a chair. Your dress is there, washed and mended best I could. She studied him for a long moment. Then, why? Why what? Why help me? You don't know me. Don't owe me. Don't need to know someone to know. They've been hurt bad and need help. Most men would have. She'd trailed off. Most men are cowards who mistake cruelty for strength. Jacob stood slowly, telegraphing every movement. There's food on the stove. Water in the bucket. You rest, eat, heal. When you're strong enough to travel, I'll help you get wherever you're going. And if I have nowhere to go, then you can stay until you figure it out. She watched him walk to the door, pause with his hand on the frame. What's your name? He asked. A long pause. Then, It means little one. A bitter laugh. Though I've never been little. Ayosh. Good name. Jacob tipped his hat. Welcome to the Hayes Ranch. Such as it is, over the next week, Jacob learned Ayosha's story in pieces. She'd been married young to a man named Thomas Begaya, man who seemed charming until the wedding ended. Then he became something else. Someone else. The first time he hit me, he cried after Ayosha, said one evening as they sat on the porch. Swore he'd never do it again. Said it was the whiskey talking, not him. But he did it again. Many times. Each time with a new excuse. I talked back. I burned dinner. I couldn't give him sons, only daughters, and they died as babies. Her voice went flat. He said my body was cursed. That I killed my own children with my bad blood. Jacob's hands clenched. He'd heard that poison before. Two men blaming women for biology they didn't understand. After the third baby died, Aisha continued. He started drinking more, hitting more. The tribe elders told me to be patient. Said a man rules his household. Said if I was a better wife, he wouldn't need to discipline me. So they blamed you. They always blame us. She touched the scar on her thigh. This one came 6 months ago. He was drunk. I was pregnant again. I tried to leave. He caught me, dragged me back, beat me until I lost the baby. Then he branded me. Aisha pulled up her dress slightly, revealing a mark burned into her inner thigh, the initials TB. Scarred deep into her flesh. He said if I tried to leave again, everyone would know I belonged to him. That I was his property. Jacob felt something cold and violent settle in his chest. Where is he now? Out there. Hunting me. He'll come, eventually. They always do. She met his eyes. You should send me away before he gets here. I don't want you to die for me, Aisha, Jacob said quietly. I'm old, I'm tired, and I've got about 10 good years left if I'm lucky. If I'm gonna die, I'd rather it be standing up for something that matters than sitting in this chair waiting for my heart to give out. You're a fool, probably, but I'm a fool who's decided foolishness beats cowardice. They came on a Saturday morning, when the heat was already brutal. 4 riders, Thomas Beggy in front, flanked by 3 tribal enforcers. Not outlaws. Lawmen, in their own way. Men with authority. Jacob was ready. He'd spent the week preparing, checking his rifle, counting ammunition. Making peace with whatever came next. Aya sure wanted to hide. Jacob refused. You hide. They think you're guilty of something. You stand beside me. They see this is a choice. Your choice. So when Thomas and his men rode up to the fence, Aisha stood on the porch next to Jacob, chin high, despite the fear Jacob could see in her clenched fists. Thomas was younger than Jacob expected, maybe 40, handsome in a hard way, with eyes that looked sober now but held the meanness of a man who'd spent years marinating in alcohol and violence. Thomas called out, not looking at Jacob. Get your things. You're coming home. I am home, Aisha said. Thomas's smile was cold. This white man's shack. This isn't your home. Your home is with your husband. With me, you're not my husband anymore. You stopped being my husband the first time you raised your hand to me. One of the enforcers, an older man with grey braids, spoke up. By tribal law, Aisha Begay, you are still married. You took vows. Those vows are binding until death or formal dissolution. Then I want formal dissolution, Aisha said. On what grounds? She pulled up her dress, showing the brand, showing the scars, showing the layered bruises that time hadn't fully erased. On the grounds that he tried to kill me. Multiple times, and would have succeeded if this man hadn't found me. The grey-braided enforcer's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, maybe, or shame. Thomas saw it too. His charm vanished, replaced by naked fury. She's lying. She's always been dramatic. Those scars, she got them falling. She's clumsy. Everyone knows this. Is that so? Jacob spoke for the first time. She fell on a branding iron that just happened to spell your initials. You stay out of this, old man. This is tribal business. She's on my land. That makes it my business. Thomas's hand moved to his gun. The 3 enforcers, TENSED. Jacob didn't reach for his rifle. Just looked Thomas dead in the eye. You can try, Jacob said quietly. But I was killing men when you were still sucking your mama's milk, and I've got nothing to lose. You sure you want to test how many of you I can take before I go down? A long, terrible silence. Then the grey-braided enforcer spoke. Thomas, show us your hands. What? Your hands. Show them. Confused, Thomas held out his hands. The enforcer studied them, then nodded. Scarred knuckles, fresh ones and old ones. The kind you get from hitting bone? He looked at Ayesha. And you? Show us yours. Ayesha held out her hands. Calloused from work, yes, but no fighter's scars. No offensive wounds. The enforcer turned to his companions. I've seen enough. By the evidence, Thomas Beggy has violated the protection laws. Ayesha has grounds for separation. You can't, Thomas started. I can, and I am. The enforcer's voice was iron. Ayesha, you are released from your marriage. Thomas, you are fined to horses and will undergo purification ceremony. If you approach her again, you'll face the council. Thomas's face went purple. She's my wife. She was your wife. Until you decided beating her was more important than honoring her. The enforcer turned his horse. Let's go. Thomas looked at Ayesha with pure hatred. You'll regret this. Both of you. No, Ayesha said. I regret staying as long as I did. Leaving you is the smartest thing I've ever done. They rode away, Thomas looking back once with a promise of violence in his eyes. When they were gone, Ayesha's legs gave out. Jacob caught her, held her while she shook not from fear, but from the release of years of pent-up terror and rage. It's over, Jacob said. You're free, am I? She looked up at him. He'll come back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but he'll come. Then I'll be ready. Jacob helped her to her feet, and this time, you won't face him alone. Thomas didn't come back. Word reached them 3 months later. He'd gotten drunk, picked a fight with a cavalry officer, and been shot dead. Some said it was justice, others said it was mercy. He'd been going downhill fast, drinking himself to death anyway. Ayesha felt nothing when she heard. The man who died wasn't the man she'd married. That man had disappeared years ago, drowned in whiskey and violence. The man who died was a stranger wearing her ex-husband's face. Life at the Hayes Ranch fell into rhythm. Ayesha took over the heavy work. She was stronger than Jacob, and they both knew it. He handled the skilled labor, carpentry, leatherwork. The detailed tasks his steady hands excelled at. They worked well together. Complementary, not competitive. At night, they sat on the porch and talked about everything and nothing. Jacob told her about his wife, dead in childbirth. About the son who'd lived 3 days before joining his mother in the ground. Ayesha told him about the babies she'd lost. About the guilt she'd carried, wondering if Thomas was right, if there was something wrong with her body, her blood, her spirit. There's nothing wrong with you, Jacob said firmly. Bodies fail sometimes. It's cruel, but it's not a curse. It's just life in a hard world. The tribe said the tribe was wrong, and they know it now. That's why the enforcer ruled for you. Shame made him look the other way for years, but even shame has limits. Slowly, Ayesha began to believe him. One evening, 6 months after she'd arrived, Ayesha said something that surprised them both. I want to stay. Not just until I heal. Not just until it's safe. I want to stay here with you. Jacob looked at her carefully. As what? As whatever we decide to be. Partners, friends, maybe more, someday, if we both want it. But no obligations. No ownership, just choice. Jacob smiled, a rare, genuine smile. I'd like that. The choosing part. Me too. They didn't rush into romance. Neither of them needed that. What they built was something slower, deeper, a partnership based on respect, shared work, and the quiet comfort of 2 people who'd survived the worst, and decided to build something gentle with what remained. A year later, they married. Small ceremony. Just them, the land, and a traveling preacher who asked no questions about tribal affiliations or age differences. 2 years after that, Ayesha got pregnant. She was terrified. Every day, she waited for the bleeding, the cramping, the loss, but it didn't come. When she went into labor, Jacob rode like hell to fetch the midwife. The birth was hard. Ayesha's body had been damaged by years of abuse, but, when it was over, she held a squalling, healthy baby girl. Jacob cried, proper tears, running down his weathered face, because at 64 years old, he was holding his daughter, and it felt like the universe had finally balanced. Some cosmic scale, they named her Sarah, after Jacob's wife. After new beginnings, epilogue, the legacy 10 years later. A young Navajo woman arrived at the Hayes Ranch, beaten and desperate. Ayesha saw her from the porch, and knew immediately. Knew the bruises. Knew the fear. Knew the desperate hope that someone, somewhere, might help. She brought the woman inside, cleaned her wounds, fed her, let her rest. When the woman woke, she saw Ayesha now in her late 40s, strong and healthy. Working alongside an old white man with gentle hands and fierce eyes. How? The young woman whispered. How did you escape? I didn't escape alone, Ayesha said. Someone helped me. Someone who decided silence wasn't worth the price of a clear conscience. But your tribe cast me out. Blamed me, took his side. Ayesha smiled. And then, I built a new tribe. Right here. With people who chose love over law, kindness over cruelty. The young woman looked around the ranch at the sturdy fences, the healthy cattle, the house that had been expanded over the years. At Sarah, now 10, reading on the porch steps. Can I stay? The young woman asked. Just until I'm strong enough to. You can stay as long as you need, Jacob said, appearing in the doorway. We've got room. We've got time. And we've got experience dealing with men who think violence solves problems. The young woman stayed 3 months. Then she left, not running, but walking tall, with money from work she'd done at the ranch, and the address of a cousin in California, who'd help her start over. She was the first. Not the last. Over the years, the Hayes Ranch became a quiet sanctuary. Women found their way there, sent by whispered networks, guided by those who'd been helped before. Ayesha and Jacob never turned anyone away. They didn't save everyone. Some women went back to their abusers. Some weren't ready to leave. Some just needed a safe place to rest before continuing their own journeys. But for those who stayed, who healed, who learned that violence wasn't love, and silence wasn't kindness, the Hayes Ranch was proof that another life was possible. Jacob died at 7, peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by Ayesha, Sarah, and 2 other women who'd made the ranch their home. Ayesha lived another 15 years, running the ranch with Sarah, teaching young women how to survive, how to heal, how to build lives from the wreckage of what others had destroyed. When she died at 68, 3 dozen women came to her funeral. Women she'd helped. Women they'd helped. Daughters and granddaughters of survivors. They buried her next to Jacob, on a hill, overlooking the ranch they'd built together. The headstone was simple: Ayesha 1831 a 1899. She chose Ferra do Amand below, added later by Sarah. The bravest thing she ever did was survive. The kindest thing she ever did was help others do the same.